So, welcome, guys. What's the difference between uh, productive and unproductive investments? And we're gonna see that in this article. I'll go more in depth into this. And it's happening in Africa, right? Called Africa's Transformation Agenda. So, as this here says, African countries should leverage investments from the Asian nation to realize socio-economic transformation, the experts said. So they be right on that. So here's the difference between let's Chinese investment and, let's say, European or white investment into Africa in general. So as we all know, there's been a massive level of investment from China into Africa. There are other Asian countries investing into Africa, but not to the extent as China. So, let's go in. So this guy Marco Talanti said that in Chinese investments combined with soft power have fueled a more equitable and inclusive economic growth in Africa. So that's because the investments they make are productive in nature. So what do I mean by that? So investments into highways that connect major African cities, along with smaller settlements along that route. Investments into healthcare, schools, stuff like that. Anything that really actually helps the people. The presence of Chinese companies in Africa has revolutionized development and bilateral cooperation with the continent. And so, what's unproductive investment? So, unproductive investment in this context, it means what basically the Europeans or what other white countries have done in Africa, which is they did invest in infrastructure, but that was mainly for the extraction of resources. So a very simplistic example would be, say, a road from a mine straight to a port where it gets exported to whatever country, European country, whatever it is. So that's a case of unproductive investment, and very rarely does it actually help the people in Africa. If it does, it's just a mere coincidence. So then it goes to say China represents a crucial source of foreign direct investments, FDI, in Africa, and it also pushes forward the idea of neutrality and non-interference with decision-making processes of partner nations. So if you've seen my posts on Reddit, you would know by now that FDI by itself is not enough for, say, a massive nation like China, but say it's a really small nation. There are a lot of small nations in Africa. FDI is very helpful, especially from a country that can invest as much as China can today, or back in the 70s and 80s, like Japan, right? There was Japan was formerly an abundant capital economy, so they could afford to. They have to simplify. They had a lot of capital, like China does today, to invest in Africa and other such areas. But they really invested in the US. They didn't really look at the long term growth potential of other markets. That's a difference between China and Japan. The Japan from back then. Uh, so yeah, when it comes to energy, uh, the continent of Africa has a lot of potential. So 40% of the world's solar energy generating potential, but that potential is very poorly harnessed right now. Only 1% of the current production capacity. So right now, the largest in solar uh, generation is basically countries like China, India, the US, are very large in area countries, but also much more developed than most in Africa. So Africa really needs that those initial investments to kickstart their economy, if you will. So yeah, experts have agreed that the cooperation between these two regions has reshaped the global balance of power. I agree as well. But we're really only seeing the beginning of something huge about to happen, and this might take like 20 years or something, but we'll see it happen for sure. So yeah, like I said here, so Kenyan business development expert said that China's footprint in Africa has moved beyond infrastructure development to health, academic exchanges, manufacturing, and ICT. So manufacturing, simple. They've been setting up a few factories here and there. I say few, but it's actually quite a lot. Academic exchanges, so a lot of African students in China now, and health as well. Recent pandemic is an example of that. So China's been giving poor countries, because they can't afford it really. They've been giving free vaccines and stuff like that. And China is also a favorite destination for African youth keen to pursue further studies besides building our industrial capacity and health systems. So China has obviously a very good education system. So these these youth who go there to study, they're going to get a really good education. They're going to come back to Africa and they're going to use that to build up their home countries, hopefully. And this is really crucial information as well. African countries have gone out of their way to borrow best practices from China in their quest to realize aspirations contained in Agenda 2063, including connectivity, green growth, and social renewable. So I think that's regarding the United Africa uh, development goals. So unlike us in the West, they actually have goals in terms of development regarding development. And of course, China's an inspiration as well because they have achieved zero extreme poverty. We gotta highlight that, not zero poverty, because extreme poverty is different from poverty in general. The poverty line in China continues to increase. It's already higher than the World Bank average, but it's going to continue to increase. We believe in multilateralism, and China represents what can be done in a short time for an integrated Africa. So, in about 10 years, or say 20 years, China's basically achieved what the Europeans and other white countries couldn't have achieved in Africa in 200 years. So a lot of racists use that as justification for their claim that Africa can't achieve anything on its own. When in reality, it's the opposite. It's actually because Europeans have been purposely keeping Africa down from achieving what they could potentially achieve. So, as in the case with what they did with Gaddafi, he was going to unite Africa, go on a different currency and everything, and I think he should have laid low a bit personally. But he wouldn't have had that. He would have at the time he wouldn't have been informed of what the West was truly capable of, given his background and everything. But yeah, they tried that in the past, and Africa is trying a different method now. And the reason China was so much, the China Africa relationship is so much more fruitful is because it's productive investment, investment into the people, unlike European investment. So yeah, African countries, although they some are very poor, they actually managed to contain the pandemic really well. But that is too early to judge on that. But given that Chinese vaccines are going there, I think the area, that region of the world is stabilized. And Peter Pingley, a business scholar, stated that Chinese firms have established a large footprint in the African market thanks to agility, innovation, and ability to connect with local consumers. So that's more on the Chinese, the firms themselves that undertake these productive investments. So obviously they are influenced by their own experience in their home country, and that's how they operate in Africa. So agility, what does that mean? That is the ability to go from project to project, finish it in a timely manner, undertake all kinds of different projects and stuff like that. Innovation, we know what that is, and ability to connect with local consumers. So you might have already heard from really terrible Western media reports that Chinese, there's a lot of Chinese intermarrying with the locals, even studying in Africa, even living them there for the long term, retiring there maybe even. I haven't heard of any cases, but it's possible, since the Chinese are a really adventurous bunch of people. So really, they're integrating within that region, setting up a footprint. It's really productive relationship. Both sides are profiting off it. You have Africans going to learn from China or even live in China for the long term. If you marry a Chinese national, you can get citizenship despite your ability. Or otherwise, if you're exceptionally talented, they will choose you. You can live in China in the long term. And here he gives out a example here called Transsion, a mobile phone company for its seamless penetration in the African market, linked to innovative branding, prudent supply chain management, and regular interaction with clients. I don't really think I need to elaborate on that. I haven't heard of that. It's my first time hearing of this brand, but this is not surprising. Motolani Agbebi, I think that's how it's pronounced, a researcher and human resource expert, said that China's investment in Africa have achieved strategic objectives for both sides, including job creation and enhanced bilateral trade. So that goes more into depth into the productive investments. That's a side effect of the productive investments, as I stated before. And China is a viable development partner for Africa. We will continue to witness it strengthen its economic, diplomatic, and cultural ties with Africa. So that relationship, they're going to become more interconnected. And even despite the distance, it's the business will thrive really. Africa is a huge potential. It's got 1 billion people. A huge potential market if it unites. and a lot of investors are missing out. You know, if they don't take up the productive investment in the continent, a lot of growth potential there. Ethiopia, Egypt, these nations are rising thanks to not just Chinese help, but also their own competent leadership. And to end of the article, she said that China is a beneficial and not a malign actor in Africa, adding that the medical supplies donated by the Asian nation, including vaccines, have boosted the COVID war in the continent. So they're making good progress with COVID as well. So that's the difference between productive investment and unproductive investment or non-productive investment, whatever you want to call it. I know this is not a long video, and I apologize for having a huge hiatus before uploading this, because the after the last time I uploaded, I didn't feel that well. I was feeling sick. Do not worry, it's not COVID. It's flu season here, so I was feeling a bit sick. I wasn't in the mood to upload a video. So hopefully I can upload more consistently in the near future. So yeah, I'll see you guys next time.